And I have some notes here to finally read 33 and 34. The Terra entity also has a number of sets going to disruptions of the powers that be plans and plots by sudden catastrophic climate change. While many of the supporting sets for the disruption by weather subsets within the powers that be are military in nature, the Terra entity has a number of directly held subsets that focus more on the members and officialdom slaves of the powers that be, who will be caught out and caught off guard by extreme weather events. Some of these climate change episodes are described as throwing down the powers that be or high-level officialdom politicians into the mire, muck, mud sewers, along with the peasants, citizens/humans, of the planet. These displaced and lost members of the powers that be will not all fare well, as several of the supporting sets are pointing to death and maiming that will be visible in the mainstream propaganda/mind control media. In the Terra entity, there are several sets that point to another media worship dead member of the Power That Be episode that is cut short by yet more extreme climate change. So the rich bastard is not only cut short by the wall of mud, I guess dying from it, but then his or her worshipful funeral by the slave press/Zionist is itself cut short by the very earth changes that caused the death. Someone actually commented today about the funeral, and I told him I wasn't sure what he was talking about. I think that's what he was talking about. I'm going to have to send him another message. As has been repeatedly noted throughout this report and nearly all the entities so far examined, the solar spasm of 2010, additional note, forecast a few months back and actually manifests on August 1st, 2010, will end up being the small prelude to the actual solar disease manifestations of 2010, 2011, 2012. The solar spasms will begin to increase both in actual intensity as well as human drama over the rest of this year, 2010, and through the next 2 years, as the cycle of windings, equatorial versus polar spin rates delta, is the cause of the increasing solar tensions, and as these cycles have an 86.45 day period, the Terra entity will not be shaking violently at a constant enough rate to enable the sheeple to grasp what is occurring. In other words, like I mentioned earlier, normal earthquakes 7.0 to 7.9 happen about 15 times a year. We're already past that, and we're halfway through the year, just slightly past halfway point. So it's up, and I'm noticing it, and I'm telling other people about it. Most people, 99.99% of people I interact with or even see visually driving every day, going to a store, if I randomly stop somebody and said, hey, you notice that the 7.0 plus earthquakes are above average this year? They would look at me like, what? No, what are you talking about? So I think that's what they're talking about. So, again, the Terra entity will not be shaking violently at a constant enough rate to enable the sheeple to grasp what is occurring. Thus, the Terra entity contains many cross-links to the debates subsets within the Populous US of A entity and the Global Pop entity, where the termination is within subsets that include misdirection and the powers that be lies, and huge numbers of supporting sets for lying propagandists, cable news. However, without regard to the bickering of humans, the data sets are indicating that the solar distress, disease/tensions will continue to build/release on an 86+ day cycle, with each new cycle bringing out progressively more violent discharges from the sun. The newly accreting long-term values suggest that by summer, Northern Hemisphere 2011, there will be an accident in which a filament connection will form between the sun and several of the planets that is indicated to stun many of the solar disease critics into lasting silence. In other words, shut the F up, you global warming nonsense believer. And then they realize, yeah, we're not getting out of this one. As the planet of humans is enveloped in solar system high energy plasma. In case you're wondering, I've been noticing on the sun through NASA data available to everybody. Again, you got to pay attention to it. It's there, but if you don't know about it, does it really matter? No. But I do know about it, so this makes sense to me. There's these things that they've labeled filaments on the sun. It's a massive band that I have no idea how many hundreds of thousands or millions of miles these things are. They're just massive. And it looks like a light bulb filament, little strand, whatever. And they're not actually really rare, but they are rare enough that they don't happen all that often. Until 2010. They've been happening quite frequently, more than they normally happen, for sure. And a filament will pop up off the sun, kind of like a rainbow in our planet. Picture kind of in a sense like that, but massive. A rainbow going from the United States over to China or something like that size. And when this thing collapses, a lot of times that plasma energy, usually through a coronal mass ejection, will pop off, and it's usually a heavier duty solar flare than normal because of that event. And we've had several of those already happen this year, by the way. So now they're saying that filament isn't just going to connect from one part of the sun to the other, but actually some type of plasma filament is actually going to be seen through space, possibly even looking out as the sun goes down or in the morning, I don't know. And it's going to actually touch other planets. We're kind of close to the sun. Wonder if it's going to be our planet. Anyways, within the Terra entity, there are a number of supporting sets for recovery from repair of waterway damage that relates to earthquakes. Most of these references are geographically linked to the West Coast, North America. There are others scattered around the planet, including such oddities as Finland and Sweden. However, the majority would appear to be focused on the Pacific Northwest of the North American continent, as being the center of waterway damage. Noting that the term waterway includes not only navigable waters, but also pipelines and canals. It could be that the forecast for the repair of waterway language is actually referring to potable water pipelines. Without regard to the type of waterways involved, the data would still suggest large enough damaging earthquakes such that it will take 8 months to repair the waterways. Unfortunately, the data also suggests that no sooner shall the damages be repaired than the next solar spasm occurs, which will occur, and the earth will again shake loose the waterways. Oh well, so it goes. We needed the work to do anyways. You got a point there. So that's it. That's all I got to say right now. Take care.